Niall, welcome to the Fine Film Podcast. Great to have you on, mate. I'm super excited to talk to you.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
That's awesome. Just to give you a little intro to people that are watching or listening, on today's podcast, we've got Niall Cassin. He's a screenwriter. He's worked in the industry for a little while now. He's accomplished quite a bit. We met, it was probably, I think it was 2015, Niall? Somewhere around
2015.
There. Yeah. We met a little while ago. We were both, traveling through LA, going for those dream jobs that we wanted and chasing dream jobs in the film industry. But I think you've had quite a bit of a journey since then, and we haven't really caught up in a while. But I'm really excited to speak to you and hear how everything's going and where you got into.
Yeah, looking forward to it, buddy.
That's awesome, man. And I guess when we met, I know like you were, you came to LA, you were doing screenwriting, you had a lot of interesting ideas. I remember talking to you about a couple of different scripts you were working on. But I guess I'd love to hear kind of how you got there and, what was your journey to actually get to LA, to start chasing your dream and, actually become a screenwriter? How did you fall into this profession?
So I've always been crazy into movies. Like that was my thing. Like say that the lads be into football or music, but movies are my thing. I'd know everybody. I'd know the actors. I'd know who did the posters. I'd know the fucking sound design. And this doesn't go back. This goes back to the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, the 60s. I knew everything. And I just geek out.
Yeah, you were geeking out.
I geek out, man. Just finding these random Italian spaghetti westerns and finding these random war movies and all. I watched So I always been into that. And so then I was in school, finished school. I went to college to study film production. And again, there's not that many opportunities in Ireland. There's not that many prestigious film schools not to put any shade in them, but it was kind of wishy-washy. It was kind of and kind of I kind of got that sense that everyone there wanted to make fucking black and white art house films, but I wanted to make Walter Hill, I didn't want to make Irish centric movies about the famine or the church or something like that.
The classic stories you keep getting retold.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? I wanted to make something the way I see film and movies. It's like an art. It's like escapism. No one wants everyone wants to be James Bond or Indiana Jones. No one wants to be some fucking farmer in a field and the fucking crops are all dead.
It's not sexy. It's not sexy.
It's not sexy. It's not sexy. But especially, I think, I love being from Ireland. I love being Irish, but I don't want my nationality to dictate my art, if you know what I mean. Yeah, so I always tried to I always found that Irish movies that came out were about the Troubles or do you know when you grow up and you live that, you just kind of no. So I'd go and watch all sorts of random movies, B movies, fucking C movies, Z movies, wherever I get my hand on. Yeah. So anyway, listen, I finished college after 2 years, and
let me stop you right there, because I'm interested to know what was your going into film school. What were you trying to, I guess, did you know what you kind of wanted to do with it and why that was an option? Because I know even at that point, I'm sure it's a big dream, right? To be I want to go to film school, but what does that really mean for you? What were you going to get out of that? What were your expectations?
I tell you what, I say I didn't know what I wanted to be. I just wanted to be a film. I want to be part of it. And I didn't know where was that holding the boomstick or location manager. I just want to be part of the process,
Yeah.
But you know what? I think I'm sure I'll circle back around to this. I literally, and this is for a long time, I literally just did enough to pass. I was fucking 51% a lot of the time. A lot of the time I was just all I need is 51% to pass. Yeah, fuck it, man, I can do 51%. I never pushed myself. So I went to 2 years of college and I passed all, I didn't excel, I didn't
it was
really
enough,
push myself. Just barely enough. Cause I was just oh fuck, man, I'll just coast it. I'll just go away. Don't get stressed out. I just want to coast it. So I passed, and And literally, I got out of college and I was just like, fuck, man. Like, listen, I literally don't know what to do now.
What do I do now?
Yeah, I'm sure there's lots of other people who are just like, when they finish college, like, you have to find a job. And like, again, like the Irish film market and the Irish, like the avenues into filmmaking in Ireland is very fucking, even back then was very, very, very like, there was like, there's a few national broadcasters, but like, there's not many opportunities. And in saying that, I didn't really try. Like,
you're going at that 51% just to pass. I don't know. You sound like you weren't that ambitious at that point in your life.
No, I was not ambitious because I thought like to be honest with you, I thought like working in film was this dream that like I want to be an astronaut. Like, I want to be like a professional footballer. And you think to yourself, like those people are lucky. Those people, they're lucky. But it's actually tons and tons of hard work. And I just wasn't putting in the hard work. I wasn't, man. I was lazy. So I finished. So I go. Actually, I finished. I finished college. I spent 2 years in Australia as well. I don't know.
Oh, down under.
Australian listeners. Yeah, down under. So I've anyone at in the what was it, the Centre Point in Sydney around 2006, 2007, and the food was substandard. That was thanks to me. I was.
If everyone's listening,
I was like working in the kitchens in Sydney. And then
that's life experience now.
Oh my God, down under. Love you guys, man. Love you guys. So then I ended up coming back and then I fell into, I needed a job, parents on my back, like, away. I was fucking, I'd gone to college, I'd gone away traveling, like, away and get a job. So next of all, I fell into banking. Literally like that. It's 10 years later, like, away. I spent 10 years in a bank. And this goes back to the 51%. I was a cashier and I did stuff in the vault cashier, but I was that for 10 years, like literally the entry level job. I just fucking like, like
you jump into it. It's safe. It's comfortable, isn't it?
And you're getting paid, and like I don't have to push myself too much. Like, the bus stops outside my house and drops me into town. It's out there, like, quite. And I think that like it's when you don't push yourself or go outside your comfort zone, you get very comfortable. You don't grow, and and I found myself this, like, I always told myself, don't rock the boat. Don't rock the boat. But it's crazy. Like, it's and it was just like this niggling, like it was like a scratch in the middle of my back. I couldn't reach, and I was just like, "This isn't you, man. This isn't you." Like, you just lying to yourself, and I was lying to myself. I was like I was watching someone else's life. It was like I was being someone else, and I was just like, "Fuck, look at this guy here." Because I always thought it was this. I always thought, like, your life is more. Your life happens to you. You don't really think. You aren't really capable of dictating your life.
You just wait. Something's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, something's gonna happen. Like, something will come up. Like, you gotta seize these things. Like, you gotta, like, there's this Irish saying, like, beer boo. You gotta seize victory. You can't just be like a passive. And like, that's what I mean. Like, people always, like, if it's a footballer, an athlete, or a singer, they're lucky. They were born with that. They're lucky. Like, but it's this hours and hours of hard work and setbacks and rejections. So anyway. I was in this job and I fucking hated it. I hated every single day.
10 years of your life.
10 years of my life, man. And it was, I worked like through the Celtic Tiger. It was like an economic boom in Ireland. Then I worked through the fucking crash, which was terrible.
Jeez.
And then, like, people losing their houses and like, people coming in crying. And I'm just like, I'm a cashier, and the banker telling me some line, we're doing this to help the customers. And then I'm just like, man, I don't want to be involved in this. Like,
I don't want to be saying this to people. Your heart's not in it.
Oh yeah. So then I came to a stage where it's just like, man, we used to go for drinks in the bank around the local pub. And you know why people are just like looking for, like, oh fucking God, send me a sign, like I need something to see. So I was in this pub and I was just like, Friday, and I was tired at work, like, when we were having pints, and I was just like, man, like, you're having this inner talk with yourself, and you're just like, I have a few pints, it's all good, man. No one gets to live their dreams. And I was like, but like, I just always felt that, like, I could give more, try harder. I was like, you're doing the 51%. It's cool.
It's good. You're comfortable. Yeah. Don't mess this up.
So I got my pint of Guinness. I was just there standing there, and I was like, fuck this, man. I'm gone. I walked out and I went home. And when I used to go home, I used to like throw on an old movie, like all those, and oh, what was me? The pity party, like, how come I never got any chances? I've done no work, but I want all the opportunities. So yeah. So I went home and I threw on a movie called Fistful of Dynamite. It's also known as Once Upon a Time, a Revolution. Also known as, you seen it? Yeah. Look, you sucker. So Sergio Leone, like, James Coburn. So if anyone doesn't know, it's like, it's about the Mexican Revolution in like 1911, and it's all these different kind of factions. And there's James Coburn plays an Irish guy with a really bad Irish accent, and he's blowing up bridges for the Pancho Villa or whoever, or Zampata. So it's flashing back between him it's flashing from Mexico to flashback to him in Ireland, and it's him and his friend, and they I think they both like the same girl. It's not really flushed out.
Yeah.
Long story short is that place I was standing at the bar, like they filmed the movie there. I didn't realize this. They actually filmed this. Yeah. I don't know if you remember, there's a flashback where spoiler alert. So James Coburn gets ratted out by his friend, and his friend rocks up and his friend starts ratting the IRA people out to the British soldiers, and he comes to James Coburn, and they lock eyes, and then James Coburn turns around with a shotgun and blows them all up. So after that moment, I was just like, fuck, man, if this isn't like, this isn't like someone ringing the bell, like, so literally I started writing. And then I read Empire, a Total Film, and there was this thing called the Pitch Fest in LA. That was just like, you pay $100, you get the pitch to like all these different they're like fucking Warner Brothers and like, all Disney and all that kind of stuff. But it's not, man. It's a guy who has a production company in his mom's basement. Like, no shade.
Selling a dream.
No. Oh, it's people monetizing your dreams. If you give me $100, you're gonna make a kid. Your movie. You're gonna be a star. I went to that and like, so it's like speed dating. You sit down. Hey, my name is Niall. I have this idea for a movie, A, B, C, and D. And they'll be like, oh, send it to me. So I got back to Ireland. I was only there for like 10 days. I got back to Ireland. I sent out like, 100 emails. Heard nothing back from nobody. And I was like, fuck, man. Like, and I was so down on myself. I was just like, man, like, you're such a fucking fool. Like, you're such a fool.
You're such a loser.
You gave 52%, and look, it amounted to nothing, right? So then there's one guy, and this is about a month or 2 months later, and everyone kept on asking me, like, oh, when you go, like, when's the movie getting made? What's your movie thing? Like, I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, you don't know what to say.
So, oh yeah, man. So then, and then this guy reached back out to me, and this script, it took me like 2 years to write, and I was just like,
I just wanted to ask, like, is there like, did you have a couple of scripts like ready to go, or like at that point, or were you like, kind of, did you have something kind of sitting in the bank? I guess. No pun intended.
I had one script, so I wrote one script. And listen, I'd never read a script. Like, again, like, I was super lazy. I never read a script before in my life.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, okay, sit down. I was like, literally like this, the keyboard, like, that, like, and but do you know what it was? When I started writing, it became very therapeutic for me. It became very like, oh, fuck, man. Like, this isn't actually that hard. And like, I think people have this envision that, like, writers are like these fucking prolific people who, like, John Keats and, like, look away. Dude, man, I struggle to read. I struggle to read books. Like, I struggle to read books. My grammar is terrible. My spelling terrible. Like, and it's still terrible. And it was worse back then because I never even tried. Like, because I get that 51%. Oh, like, it doesn't matter if it's there, or there. Like, because they're like, they'll get it. Like, away.
It's okay. It's good enough.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? And I didn't understand that. So when I wrote this script, it's like these fucking men go on a mission in World War II. It's kind of like Inglourious Basterds meets The Usual Suspects, like, okay. But what? I was writing it, and I was more like, fuck, man, if no one even reads this, like, I'm enjoying the process. I'm enjoying reading it, like,
You're enjoying it yourself,
so, yeah, and that's the thing that, like, if you enjoy it, if I was enjoying it that much, and it didn't even matter if, like, listen, if someone wanted to pay me $1 million for it, I'll be like, yeah, great. But I was just like, if no one reads this, I'll be happy, because I've after creating this idea from my head, like,
it's yours. So, you made something. Anyway, it's your ideas, on paper.
Yeah, oh no, 110%. And listen, I only reread it like 6 months ago, and I was like, man, this still isn't that bad. It's
still holds
terrible,
up.
but like, it's not. Yeah. But listen, like, do you know, like, the script would have cost like $200 million to make. Like, no one's gonna make this. Like,
right.
So I went to LA. I came back. Listen, no one's contacting me. Like, no one's replying to my emails. Everyone's passing. Then this one guy got back to me, and we're still friends to this day. He always gives me great advice, and he's just like, "Listen, your script is okay. Your script is okay, but you want to do something smaller, do something like a bit more manageable. No one's going to make this because." Like, who are you? Like, you want to make something that you want to make like a Saw. You want to make like a Saw, like, you want to make like a phone booth. You want to make like, a buried, contained thriller. You can show your skills. I was like,
so your script was like too big, the scale was too big and things like that. The story would have been, too massive to kind of produce to make. Yeah.
So imagine the people who would be open to reading like a spec script. So a spec script is like a speculative script that like I'm writing off my own back for me and I'm going to try to sell it to someone, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas the other way would be a writer for hire, where someone's like, no, this is my idea. You write it. So the spec script, the people, and again, like I had no one to ask questions to or like explain the industry to me or anything like that. So that big script I wrote, like the people who I would need to make that or would be unreachable from, and that'd be a fluke of luck, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he was just like, write something smaller, something that like a guy can like, you get into someone's hands and he might have 500,000, like that's easier, like, you know what I mean? Oh, I need 100 million. So I wrote this smaller script, and so I said to myself, I came back and I was like, fuck man, like I'm not completely shit, man. I'm okay. Like that 52% has got me a tiny bit. So what I started doing is I just put this fucking complete mindset. I just like, it's not going to drink anymore. I'm not going outside anymore.
I'm not going to the pub anymore.
Not going to the pub anymore. I'm not like, but I said to myself, like, okay, it's total war. Like everything I do is going to be focused on like my writing and getting better. So all I was doing was like reading scripts, like, reading scripts, reading scripts. And my first script took me about 2 years. My next script took me 6 months. Like, you know, away. And I was almost like, oh fuck, man,
you're improving
like a quarter of the time, and I was like, oh fuck, man, I gave 55%, and I started realizing, shit, man, the harder I work, the better I'm getting at this. And I know it might sound stupid.
It makes sense.
So then I was just like, I was just like, oh, I'm going to do one. I'm gonna fucking quit my job. And like I'm 37 now. I was 32. Like, I wasn't no spring chicken. I was in a bank for 10 years on a pensionable job. And this is like in the recession time in Ireland, like you're giving up your job to work at a bank to go become a screenwriter.
It's a crazy idea,
Yeah, it's a crazy idea, but it's just like, you know what, man, fuck it, man. Like, I want to get one life. And and listen, I didn't know anyone in the industry. I knew one person, but like he wasn't very helpful. I knew no one in the industry, but like nowadays there's so much social media. So I started reaching out to like people on Twitter, people here on Facebook, trying to like adding people on fucking LinkedIn, all these kind of things.
Yeah.
So anyway, for about a year, all I did was like save money and write, save money and write, save money and write, save money and write. So I was like, yo, guess what, bank? Peace out.
I fucking quit. It would have been the best day of your life.
Oh yeah. And it was, and you know what it was when I was there, like I spoke to the manager and I was just like, listen, I'm going to go try do this. Any chance of a sabbatical, like, any chance you can give me like a 3 months? And he's like, no. And I think when I was thinking that, when I was thinking that, I was like, oh fuck, man, like this is there's no safety net. There's no going back.
There's no going back once you make this decision. Yeah.
It's just like, this is it, man. And I thought, looking back now, I think it's like, fuck, thank God. Because I think if that had been in my mind, well, if you don't succeed, you don't have to go back to, you're at 60 now, go back to 51. It's cool, just coast.
You're good. You're coasting, baby.
Yeah. So then I went to LA. That's where I met you.
That's right.
So we were traveling through LA, and I had my, again, this is just random. I read in a magazine that lots of stuff gets made in Canada. Like, I was completely ill-prepared for this, like, life-changing decision.
Life-changing decision. You go out there, you're putting everything on the line. No idea what's happening.
Literally everything on the line. And then so I read somewhere, maybe in the same magazine, that lots of stuff is made in Canada. Like, how like, oh, lots of stuff is made in Canada. That tiny country. I'll just fucking go and see. Yeah. So I got my visa for Canada. And it's kind of similar to what the Australian working holiday was.
Yeah.
You could go to Canada for 2 years. You could... it kind of encouraged people to like travel Canada, but like everyone either stays in Toronto or Vancouver.
Yeah.
So I get off in Vancouver, and I'm sleeping on a guy's couch eating noodles, like, and I'm just like, fuck, man, like, what? Like, and you know what?
The fuck have I done?
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? And just like, I have to get like registered for tax, and I have to do all this, open bank accounts, and get a phone. I'm just like, I have all this back in Ireland. I can just like post it. But I was like, all right, fuck it. So I was doing all that stuff, and I was just like, okay, I'm gonna hit the ground running. So applying for jobs. And literally like the second or third job I applied for was for this Jodie Comer pilot called Home that I never got picked up. So literally they called me in for an interview. I was like, listen, I've never worked in a production office before. They're like, don't worry, we'll train you. And I was like, cool. And literally on the walk home, I was just like, man, like, this is fucking...
It's not going to work out.
No, I was just like, dude, I proved everyone. Like, I showed everyone, man.
It was an accomplishment. It was enough of an accomplishment, I guess, to just be there and get that kind of interview and, be right there in that spot, right?
Yeah, but I was just like, fuck, man, like, this is... I can't wait till a couple of years to tell people on a podcast that like my story, like, you know, I can't, like, you know, I'm just like, yeah, and I was just like texting the lads back. Guess what? Jay Bruckheimer, me and him, best mates. Yeah, I'm working. You might let me throw. You might let me throw in a few ideas, like, you know, I might slip it in, like, you know. So literally after about 2 weeks, I got fired because I didn't have a clue what I was doing. Like, so then like they came to me and it's like, here, no, listen, you don't have a clue what you're doing. We're too busy to train you. You're a real nice guy, but no.
Really?
Like,
that brutal?
Yeah. Like, it was just like fucking, it was just like, and literally the girl who took my job was just like, hey, bye.
Get out of here.
Yeah. And I was just like, all right, cool, man. So then the walk home, and you're just like, oh man, like, I swear to God, man, I was the first in the morning. I was the last to leave at night. Like, you know, going the long days production offices. And I honestly I was like, fuck, man, I was given like 70% there, man. I was given 70% and like, you know, go away down lumps. And then literally in the walk home, I was just like, got a phone call from the locations manager. And he was like, hey, Niall, like I spoke to him a couple of times, but nothing like, so he's like, listen, I seen you coming in early in the morning and late at night, like, you know, go away. I used to be married to an Irish woman. Listen, would you like to join the locations department? And I was just like, what's location? Like, I literally know.
What the fuck is that? Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so I ended up being like a PA. So a PA was like a PA is like a dog's body. It's just like a human traffic cone that literally you're emptying bins, picking up trash, like stopping people walking on the set. Anything, man, anything and everything. But like I did that for 2 years, and literally I was working on like, you know, Deadpool, Planet of the Apes, Supernatural.
Yeah, I saw your IMDb and I was surprised, like, shit, Niall, you've been on some sets, you know, like, these are some big Hollywood movies. So like that's crazy, man. Like, what happened between those kind of 2 years, and how's that? What was that experience like?
I was just like, you know, like, it's weird because I always think like, you know, it's always darkest before the dawn. But like when I was walking home and I felt like shit, and it's just like things will get, and you know, in the film industry, it was like things will get better. You're just like, what if they don't? What if they don't? What if they go back? Yeah. So then literally I was just like, all right, fuck this, man. I'm literally going to work every single day. So literally I worked every single day. And like, there's different types. It's like a show call. So when you're a production assistant, like there's two types. There's like a show call, which is like every single day and you're part of the team and like fucking like, you know, you're pretty integral. Or there's day calls, and day calls can be like 1 day, it can be half a day, it can be 2 weeks, it can be a month, and it all depends on if you're outside with lots of people or there's lots of stuff going on, you need lots of PAs. But if you're in a studio, you need 2 or 3. Not a lot. So I literally became like most of the stuff I did was day calls. So I'd be on like Supernatural one day.
I'm gonna have to stop you right there because I'm a huge Supernatural fan. What was that like?
I think the episode I was on was called, I don't know if you know, a crit. It was called Critters, I think, or something. We're like in a mine shaft, and it was. I worked on. I think I did 3 or 4 episodes, but like most of it is just like. All the juicy stuff, like all the fight and all,
you don't get to see it
in studio. I'm literally leader. I'm standing beside a generator, making sure no one robs it. Or I'm literally okay. We're finished now. Sending some PAs to pick up all the trash off the
pick
ground.
Pick up this shit. No.
Because, yeah, that's what it was like. And then you might see that one of those lads, like, I can't remember which one. One of them was like super friendly. One of them like was super friendly. The other guy wasn't so. Well,
oh, like the two main actors. Yeah.
But like, you know, it was a great experience. But like, it's so weird that like some people who worked on Supernatural and have been going for like 17 years had only worked on Supernatural. So people have been like a camera trainee had gone all the way up. So it was a really tight crew. But but then I worked on. I was a show call on Tully with Mackenzie Davis and Charlize Theron, which was and Jason Reitman, which was fucking
crazy.
Which was amazing. But when I was working on all these different movies, I was like, all right, man, like they're paying you to do stuff. You're not going to do that. You're just going to fucking sit there and like take everything in, like, you know, take everything in. So I'd be like, and again, like I'd work. It was 15 hours a day, Monday to Friday. And then at the weekends I'd write and do my laundry and get food and so on. So when I was working there, I was like I'd be listening to as a PA, you get to like be moved around a bit.
Yeah.
So I'd be like standing beside, like, you know, the director's tent, Video Village, like listen to people, like, you know, way how shots are set up, like, you know, way the composition, what they're looking for, taking it all in, because all this stuff is like informing my writing, you know, way.
Right.
Like, you know, like, you know, if the film is set on one day, like that means there's not that many costume changes, like, you know, that's cheap. You know, all this kind of stuff, like, oh, that makes sense now. Oh my God, like, you know, so I was just like a fucking sponge, man. Like, this is my college course. It was like a 2-year crash course, and I was doing it on like Deadpool and like Planet of the Apes and like Power Rangers and stuff like that. And then like I got the opportunity to, because I was considered a temporary resident in Canada. I couldn't become unionized, so I couldn't get into any other department. But I wanted to see things through like a different scope. So then I got an opportunity to do costume set supervisor on an independent movie, and it was less money, and it was less money, and it was less like, you know, it wasn't as long hours, but like I was getting paid like half I was getting paid for being a PA and like Planet of the Apes. But I was like, no, I've never done this before. Let me see, and I got to spend more time with the actors.
It's an experience. Understood that,
like, and this is going to, because I'm spending more time with the actors, I was getting them performance on. So like that was amazing. And I was right at the time, and say I'd fly to LA for like a meeting and fly back or visit friends and so on. So I was always trying to dip my toe in it. But then like my 2 years in Canada were up, so I came back to Ireland, and because I was a PA. And as a PA, I could have just done 51%. I could have done like, you know, away. And I wasn't doing anything complicated. I wasn't doing anything. I had zero responsibility. I loved every second. I would have worked 24 hours a day.
Yeah, huge learning experience for you. Yeah, especially that period of time.
Massive learning experience. And you know, it gave me discipline as well. Like it was just like I had to like. I remember one time I was on. Remember a TV show Van Helsing was on FX.
Yeah. I'm a fan of the original movie with Hugh Jackman.
Anyway. So this is like a re-imaging of it where Van Helsing is like a woman and it's in the future. It's kind of like a Walking Dead kind of rip off.
Yeah.
But I remember one time I had to be there at like 6 a.m. and there was no buses to it. So I had to get a bus at 3 a.m, the night bus, and I had to walk for an hour. And I was just like, well, this is what you got to do, man. Just shut up, man. Like, you know,
there's another option.
Like, what are you going to do? Like, you know, can't get the bus. Like, you know, just do it, man. Just get it done.
Just fucking do it.
Like, you know, and I just like, and you know what, like, it made me disciplined. Like, you know, it made me like, you know, I had that, like, you know, I'm not going to give up, man. I've come so far, like.
Yeah.
So, and at the same time, as all this was happening, I was getting like scripts optioned, and like, you know, you might get like $100 here or like $500 there. And but you know, I was always, the way I look at it is like, I'm always trying to like progress, always trying to get that like, oh, I got an option for $500. Next is going to be $750. Like, you know,
it's going to keep like, improving, getting better the more you do it to keep keep going. Yeah.
It's like the mentality that like, there's no like that $200 million movie. It's better to go in with $1 million, and the next one will be $5 million, and the next one will be $10 million, and then you know, away. So I came back to Ireland, and I didn't know anyone. I didn't know anyone in the Irish film industry. Like I knew loads of people in the Canadian film industry, in the American film industry, no one in the Irish film industry.
No one in Ireland.
So I came back, and literally I just carpet bombed every Irish production company in Ireland. And literally just carpet bombing, like, because I had this fucking awesome CV now, because I was like, this guy worked on Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes.
Like, you know, this guy
get a meeting.
You know, like I worked. Yeah, and I like, you know, I worked on like, I think it was like 40 productions in Canada, like, you know, away.
Insane.
So I got a call from this crowd. Turns out it was an Amblin production, like, you know, Spielberg's company, and it was Mackenzie Davis, it was Finn Wolfhound, it was Brooklyn Price, and it was like a re-imaging of the classic novel, The Turning of the Screw, a movie called The Turning. Yeah, so I got a job. So I come from like production assistant, which is like picking up trash and moving traffic cones and that. And then I went from a different type of PA, a personal assistant. So I ended up being personal assistant to Scott Bernstein. And so Scott Bernstein produced like Straight Outta Compton. He was an exec with Universal, like, you know, like this dude is like, you know, this dude is like, you know, this guy knows everybody in Hollywood, like, you know, and like it was like went from like one learning experience to a different kind of learning experience. Like this guy would like tell me all the ins and outs and like that, and the whole business behind making movies, like, you know, and I used to be a fly on the wall listening to him, and like this like it was so listening to how he like, you know, explain stuff and get it across. It was really eye opening. I seen the film industry through a completely different prism. You know. So he was amazing. Like I remember one time I was in his office and like, I don't know, I can't remember it was Dr. Dre or Ice Cube rang him, and
they came into the office.
No, they rang him. This is in Ireland, so because he produced Straight Outta Compton, and I can't remember what. And like he was just like, hey Niall, it's fucking Dr. Dre, and I was just like,
it's Dre. Let me just take this. Give me a second.
Yeah, I was just like, yo man, cool.
It's me.
Wait, look out for detox. Yeah. So
crazy.
So I did that, and at the same time when I was doing this, like, and again it was the same kind of like long hours. To be on set, and this before when I was a production assistant, I was literally the bottom rung of the ladder, like. But as a personal assistant, I was way more. Not, I wasn't involved at all, but like people wouldn't be like, I could be around, I could hang around, I could listen to stuff, because almost like a personal assistant's almost like a mentoring. You're mentored almost, if you know what I mean.
Right. You spend a lot of time with the person, and like pretty much every day, all day, right? Yeah.
And then so then that finished up, right? So I'm like literally going out, like this is like 2 days later, I'm going down to the Dole office, and while I was filming, I was always sending out emails, talking to people, read my script. So I'm literally going down to the Dole office, signing on for a thing. I was just like, oh man, bummer. Like, and again, like I wasn't used to it, because I was just like, oh, no work now. I don't know what I'm gonna do now.
What the fuck do I do now? Yeah.
So then I'm going to the supermarket. I'm going to buy like the meal deal. I was like, fuck man, what's a meal deal? Like,
I'm back, baby. I'm back.
Oh, turkey stuffing sandwiches. Oh yeah. So
my favorite.
So you get like a can of Coke, a turkey stuffed sandwich, and like a packet of crisps for like, and it was like €4. I was like, fuck, I can do this every day. Yeah, you know.
Absolute bargain.
Yeah, it's great, man. It was the healthy option as well. Like, so then I literally go buy my meal deal, whatever fucking meal, and I'm going home. My phone rings. It's this French producer who I sent my script to, Philippe Martinez, another great guy, and he's like, listen, I read your script. I have an idea for the script. Do you want to come over to Italy and we can write it together? And I'm like, I'm in the
just
airport.
Like that. I'm already
just
there.
Like that. So literally 2 or 3 days later, I jumped on a plane, flew to the airport, and I was just like, dang man. And you know those kind of things. I got off the plane and I was like, I never met this dude. I've never, like, you know, I got off the plane, there was a guy handling like a fucking Mister Cassin.
It was one of those moments.
A chauffeur driver, and I was just like, oh man, I was gonna get the bus, like, you know. So next of all, I
was eating these value meals fucking egg. This guy's holding.
Listen, when I got that phone call, like I threw in the value meal, I bought like a steak, like, you know,
fuck this, I'm eating steak tonight.
Yeah. I'm a star. So literally, this guy drove into the hills around Rome, and he pulled up to this, like, it was like, man, fucking beautiful. It's like a converted olive farm that was converted into, like, you know, kind of like a hotel type thing.
Yeah.
So me and him spent a couple of weeks there just writing these scripts, and they ended, long story short, they ended up getting made. And so we ended up writing 3 of them, and they filmed them all back to back. So it was like, it's with Amon Asante, from like American Gangster. He's in Judge Dredd. He's in and then
this is Mister Mayfair, right?
Yeah, Mister Mayfair, yeah.
And
then Steve Bauer he's the best friend in Scarface, and he's in Ray Donovan. And then Ken Davian, who was Borat's manager in Borat 1. So like, again, like, like, you know, these solid guys, like, you know, okay. Now I was meant to be, I think it was, as far as I'm aware, I was meant to be released last year, but because of COVID, that it wasn't. So
Got pushed
but
back.
there's three of them come out, yeah, pushed back. So that was great. So at that time, I was, yeah. So that kind of like, and like since then, I've been kind of like constantly writing and constantly working. But I'll give you an example that like,
Yeah.
so like I am, listen, if someone offers me an opportunity to learn, like I'm not too humble to, like, you know,
Yeah.
sweep a set, like if I think I can learn. So recently I ended up I was Jodie Comer's assistant on The Last Duel.
The Last Duel.
Ridley's,
I saw that on your IMDb, and I needed to bring this up to talk about it because that looks like a fantastic film. I mean, it's Ridley Scott, right? Is it Matt Damon and
yeah,
Ben Affleck that wrote the script?
yeah, and another girl wrote the script. I can't remember her name, and Adam Driver's in it.
Adam Driver's in
I
it.
can't, yeah,
Can't say too
talk about it
much.
because
Can't say too much.
like,
That's okay. I
no,
understand.
I'm just saying that, like, I went from being like a screenwriter and I get this opportunity to like be around, listen to Ridley Scott talk, and listen to how this guy is like doing things. Like I'm just like, I'll do this. Like I'll come in and do it for you. Want me to sweep the street? I'll
fucking do it.
Yeah, listen, like, you know, there's nothing to. But like people are just like, but you're a screenwriter. And it's like, man, Ridley Scott's making. Alien was like 79. Like he's making movies, classic movies before he's even born. Like no, why wouldn't I want this? I learned so much, and this from being around them. But yeah, a fantastic experience.
That's awesome. Like, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, but like, and that brings me up to now. And like I'm constantly writing. I've got stuff constantly being optioned and bought and sold. I did a show. I can't talk about. But I did a show for like a US network, and I did a couple of episodes for them, and like it's constantly like ticking over. And but like my job is like 24/7, 7 days a week, man. I'm 110% every. I had a meeting this morning at like 6 a.m. with a Canadian director, and I was just like, yeah, I got, like, you know, this is my job. Like it's not like, oh, I'm kind of tired. Like, yeah, no, it's cool. I was up by 5:30 and I had my coffee and I was done it. Like, you know,
it never stops. Yeah, you got to keep hustling to keep going with it. Well, I guess I wanted to find out with COVID and like the restrictions and everything like that. Like, how does that process has that limited you in terms of like your writing and what's getting made, or in terms of, you know, the work you're getting and things like that? Is the industry, I guess, slowed down quite a lot?
Yeah, well, like, you know, I think like COVID's is another obstacle, like, you know, like COVID's just another, like, you know, it's just like there's gonna be stuff in everyone's life and everyone's profession that, like, oh man, this didn't work out for me, that didn't work out for me. Like just before COVID hit, I had a movie very close to going into production, and it had like a pretty big star in it and so on, and then like literally it's just like, listen, this isn't going ahead. Some guy ate a bat, and we're all fucking.
We're all fucked.
I can't hug you can't hug your granny. So yeah. So listen, and then, but like the thing about humans, like the thing I realized in life is that is all these setbacks and like mistakes and all these knockbacks and things that don't work out. These are, people see them as like full stops, as like that's the end of the road. All these things are stepping stones. Like listen, remember COVID? Everyone's just like 18 months. We have a cure or whatever, like a vaccine. Like, and things are getting back to normal. Like, you know, and they're never going to be like the same as normal was. But like this is a massive worldwide event that's affected everybody. But like humans have this thing to adapt and change. So like COVID was shit, man, because like I was in my room, and usually, so I write and then I go out and do something. And then the thing is, I'm in my room for like, you know, and like I think everyone struggled through. No one's coming out of COVID saying that was
the best.
I enjoyed that so much. I had so much fun in COVID. You know, man, it was tough, and like things were meant to go and didn't go, but things are turning back around. But like in saying that, I was like, don't get me wrong, I was like, some days I was just like, fucking man, blow my brains out. But like I never got into the dumps, man. I did so much writing.
Well, that's the thing. Like I was going to say, you probably had a lot more time to write a lot more. I mean, you don't get those moments to kind of like, you know, maybe get inspired by like living your life because you're kind of stuck indoors, but maybe you get more time to write, you know. Was that the experience for you?
Yeah. Well, to just say for me personally, my writing how I write would be like,
Yeah.
so say I do it for like 5 hours a day maybe, and
Mm.
like the first hour is usually shit and the last hour is shit, so you get like 3 good hours in there. But like you can't, if I write for 20 hours, I'm just gonna get like, it's gonna get those 3 hours, you know, go away. There's only so much juice you can get from the squeeze, you know, go away. So I was writing, but like the thing about it was there was no downtime. I was just like, I was supposed to go for another walk, like, you know, go away, you know, so it's just like that. But in saying that, like, people did like things now. So I worked on a movie recently, which COVID, like, you know, which had COVID procedures and so on. In place, and things are turning around. And I think, sure, like most people will be vaccinated before the end of the year. So I think it's like, you know, cinemas are back open, they're back showing movies. I think there's a little blip, and like, you know, but I don't think movies have stopped. There's always going to be this intrinsic need in people to go into a big dark room. And like, you know, escape.
Have that communal experience with everyone.
Yeah.
Like,
you ever think of going to like church? You go to mass or wherever, like synagogue. You go to, like, you know, the mosque. You're down beside people. You sit down beside people you may not know, and you listen to someone tell a story. It's not that much different from a cinema. Like, you know, I think that's intrinsic in us all.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think that's not going to change. Like, you see a lot of directors like kind of pushing. It was like HBO that kind of was releasing most of their movies right throughout the on HBO Max, and then, you know, like directors like Nolan and I think it's Denis Villeneuve and stuff like that, they're kind of against it, you know, still to release it in cinemas.
Like I just I don't think, listen, I don't think unless you have like a massive TV, like a cinema room in your house, but like watching movies on the TV, if you're watching, like, I watched that Army of the Dead, and I would love to see that on the big screen. But like seeing it on the small screen is like, you can appreciate it as much. Listen, if it was a drama, like, what was that one where David Washington and that girl, and just like two angry lovers arguing black and white.
Marie or Malcolm and Marie or something like that.
Yeah, I was just like, all right, listen, like that Netflix, or like Divorce Story or something like that. Yeah, but like if you're watching big spectacle things with big scope, like, you know, look away, it's kind of a shame to have them on, like, you know, your 42-inch or whatever, like, you know. No,
of course. Well, I caught Tenet last year in the cinemas, and that was like the first movie that was released in the Australian cinemas, like, I think all year or whatever, like, you know, like once like COVID happened and everything like that. And it was like amazing, like thinking like if I had watched that on a little TV, it wouldn't have had like as much of an impact on me, like especially that kind of movie, you know, like. So,
I watched it at the same time in Ireland. What did you think of it? Did you like it?
I did. It took like, I think like that whole like week after I watched that, I was thinking about it. Like I was just trying to process everything, and I was trying to process if I do like it or not. And I think I needed a little bit of convincing, like to figure out, you know, what the story was about and like what he was trying to do with it. And I think I kind of like, I think I feel good about it, but I don't think that it's his best film. Like I don't think it's nowhere near at the top. What was your feeling on it?
My feeling was, I think, you know, when, and listen here, what the fuck do I know? Like, you're
just a screenwriter who's worked in a bunch of different productions.
That just like picked up a load of traffic cones and all these different Hollywood productions. But I think personally, when there's no like, say for example, you have like, you know, Tenant and say even The Hateful Eight, I think where there's no oversight, when people are given like, oh, it's Christopher Nolan, just give him fucking loads of money and he'll come back in like a year with an amazing movie. Like, we don't even need to, like, oh, he's going to explain it to us. Like, I bet you he sat, like, again, I bet you he sat down to a lot of execs and he's just like, listen, guys, you know the way I love messing my time. And like, and it was like, oh, fucking Christopher Nolan time. It's going to be like Inception, but kind of different. And then like,
big money maker.
Like, here, check. And I just, my problem with, and I rewatched it there recently, and I did enjoy it the second time over. I think it's beautiful, like the shots and the music, and like, you know. But I just didn't like the way, like, he's the protagonist, and I was like, give him a fucking name, man.
Give him a name.
Don't be so lazy. And then like, so this guy, and I just understand his motivations. This guy's sacrificing the world to save this woman. And I was like, but they're not even romantically involved. And I was like, yeah, I know it's terrible. You might have to let her die, but like, it's literally World War III is going to happen. Like, so just like, don't give him the box, like, you know. But I just didn't. The central concept I couldn't get my head around. I can maybe push on those things aside, but you know, when he's firing the bullet at the big wall, You're not firing the bullet, you're catching it. I'm just like, well, who put the bullet in the fucking wall?
How did it get there in the first place?
Was it always there? That's what I just don't understand. Like, and then the woman's like, don't think about it. Or try not to think about it. And I was like, no, I have to think about it.
She's telling the audience, like, don't look into it too much. Just enjoy the ride.
Cool visuals. But I know I did enjoy it. Like, to be honest with you, I just was like, all right, I'm never going to get this. But like, I think Christopher Nolan, and I'm not the biggest fan. I'll always go see his movies in the cinema. Spectacle, like, but I think like there's lots of stuff like is flawed in his movies and the Batman movies, and the last act of Interstellar where the space ranger finds him, and it's like, what? Like,
how did I get there? I don't know.
But I thought Inception is probably his best movie, and I love that idea of Inception and like that creating the new world and all those kind of ideas.
It's more thought out, probably, that one, as opposed to some of these other ones.
Dense. Right? Yeah, and again, like I think there's some bits I still don't understand, and there's like I don't really get that Maud storyline, Leonardo DiCaprio's wife, and like I always remember, like, I can't remember who said it, like, you know, go away. It's just like, you know, I gotta go home to my kids, like, you know, I gotta go see my kids, and I'll just get Michael Caine to bring your kids to wherever you are, like, you know,
why do you have to go to them?
Again, like, and I understand the Japanese lad who's in it, the guy who's organized, he's like, if you do this for me, I can clear your record. And this is like, hell, man, this guy's getting done for murder. What's he going to just pop up in the neighborhood again? And
he didn't do it, don't worry. It's all good.
I was just like, oh, I don't know, but I really enjoyed it. Like, I do like Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, is that I guess I wanted to ask you, like, when you're kind of watching movies, since you're kind of, you know, obviously involved and you're writing your own screenplays and stuff like that, do you look for certain things like that? Do you tear apart movies essentially when you're kind of watching it because you got that eye for it?
Yeah, sometimes you almost can't enjoy movies.
Is it hard to enjoy the movies?
Like, is it hard? No, I suppose it's kind of like a different. And I suppose it's anyone who's like, you know, I'm sure chefs, like, they can't have a fucking meal in another restaurant without like picking it apart and saying, this is what I've done, and I would have done it this way, and so on. And it does ruin it, but also, like, it doesn't ruin it to the extent that, like, I never fall out of love with it, like, you know what I do, and I'm never like, like, I try not to, like, in the cinema. I went to see a Quiet Place 2. The cinema's back open here, and it was great because there wasn't many people there. Did I like it? I did like it. I just would have done it. Did you see it?
I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to see it very soon.
Do you want me to give you my opinion?
Yes, please. It's okay. If you spoil it, it's okay.
Yeah, I won't spoil it. So it's kind of like two storylines where, like, there's Emily Blunt and one of the children, and then there's Cillian Murphy, who was an old family friend, and the other girl. And they kind of like say after the first act, they kind of break off, and there's two separate storylines. But like Emily Blunt's one is very similar to the first movie, where they're like they're just like, we're in a basement and the death angel's outside. I would have preferred her character, Emily Blunt's character, and one of the children they all go together, and then they get separated at the last act or something like that, because I was just like, this is
very repetitive.
It's repetitive, but I was distracted from because we've covered this ground before. Can't make a noise, you're in a basement, there's a baby crying. But the other story, they were like, Cillian Murphy and the deaf girl were going out into like the world now, and seeing we met more people and did more things. And I was like, oh man, I want to see more of that. No, like, Emily Blunt's bit is amazing. Like, it's a great actress. Like, it's so well done. But I seen it all in the first movie. I just felt it was a strange. I don't know, man, because Emily Blunt's involved in it more than Cillian Murphy is, and like, Emily Blunt's name comes before Cillian Murphy, but like, it's more like Cillian Murphy is the lead actor.
He's a bit more of a draw, I think. This like second part.
No, I'm interested to see what they do with it, and it took me in a direction I didn't think it would take me, and I enjoyed it. So I was in there, and like, this is the first time I've been in the cinema in like 6 months. And it was so cool just to be. I was completely lost in it. I literally thought about nothing else. It was just.
You had your popcorn, your drink.
Oh, buttered popcorn! I went to the further away cinema because they do buttered popcorn. So they just like sat there, had buttered popcorn, and then say about 20 minutes, like, the steward came in to make sure everything was all right, and it took me out of the movie. And I was like, oh my god, man, this is so good to be totally immersed. But yeah, I do sometimes in this, like, sometimes we watching a movie, it's just like, there's a guy behind that pillar there. There's a guy just keeping
You
everyone
see it
quiet like
coming.
this. Yeah. But no, I enjoy like, say if I really enjoy a movie, I will listen to the director's commentary, and then I'll read the script, and just to see how they
Hmm.
how the words translated onto screen. Because if you read, like, I'm a big M. Night Shyamalan fan. Like, I love
Oh yeah,
Signs. I
I love
I
Signs.
like The Village. Dude, man, I've even got The Happening on DVD.
The Happening. Jeez. Not too bad.
So
I'll give it a watch here and there. You know.
did you see Infinite, Mark Wahlberg's new movie?
No, I haven't. Is that good?
I'll tell you, it's Anthony Fuqua and Dylan O'Brien's in it. Fuck, man, it's one of the, it's like, it makes The Happening look like an Oscar performance. I swear to God, man, I swear to God, it's shocking.
Keen to see it.
But yeah, oh yeah, it's worth, it's worth to see. Oh yeah, I won't spoil it. Enjoy it, mate. No, so Christopher Nolan, say, or M. Night Shyamalan, it's so weird that, like, so I love, like, M. Night Shyamalan, and I read his scripts, but the scripts are so, man enters, man leaves, and I realize that, like, he's writing it for himself. Like, Christopher Nolan is writing it for himself. He's not writing it to get approved by someone, like,
Right.
So so it's not difficult that way.
Have they kind of influenced your writing style, or kind of what you do? Maybe not Christopher Nolan, if you've been like a huge fan, or who has kind of influenced your writing style, I guess.
Do you know what? It's more, not so much like writers. I like Christopher McQuarrie because he's so snappy. And if anyone's out there and they haven't seen it, if watch a movie he did after Usual Suspects called Way to Go with Ryan Felipe and Benicio del Toro and James Caan. And it's one of the best movies I've ever seen. It's one of my favorite movies. And his dialogue's very sharp. He's like Aaron Sorkin, but not so Aaron Sorkin-y. But as like, not so much writers like have influenced my writing. More filmmakers and directors, say.
Yeah.
And I think that the way my style of writing would be, and like, the occasion I get someone will reach out to me and say, like, listen, would you read my script? And like, I'm a big advocate of, like, paying it forward, because someone took time to read my script and I was at a fucking really bad place, and they gave me a bit of confidence. And I like, and I always think that, like, if some kid out there is just like, oh, I don't know who else to talk to, do you want to read my script? And it's like, I'm always like, listen, I'll read 10 pages and I'll give you some feedback on that. And I always find that people are just like, they fucking carpet bomb the page with, like, this person does that, they reach down, they lift up their phone, they answer the call, they scratch the nose, and I'm just like, no. Like, you need to be, don't carpet bomb like this, like, snipe. So, like, just do 2 or 3 lines of, like, what the room looks like, and then the dialogue, like, make it snappy, make it quick. Like, the more white on the page, the better. Because the whole thing, I don't think, say, people realize, or people starting off, screenwriters realize, is that you're not going to direct it. Like, you're not going to direct it. There's no point in being like, the man gets into the red car, he puts it in second gear, the car stalls, he takes out his phone. Like, that's all superfluous. Like, like, you want to be, what you're doing is, and this is the way I describe it, you're outlining like a vague box. You're just giving, like, the tiniest hint of what things are. And you're leaving enough room for the director to input what he sees, and the actor to input what they see, and the producer wants to, because, like, no actor wants to be like, oh, he's constantly, like, scratching his ear. That's what he does. Well, the actor's just like, well, that's fucking my job to decide what he does. Like, it's not your job.
Yeah,
like,
you got to interpret
my character do it. Yeah. So you want to leave enough wiggle room for everybody to input their ideas. Like, and like, I always say to writers, like, don't tell people what you're seeing. Don't tell people, like, he is angry. Like, invoke a feeling, like, and of course, like, listen, I've never been fucking hunted in a silent world by alien monsters. Like,
wait, you haven't?
What? But you know what I mean? Like, I've understood. Like, everyone knows what it feels like to be scared. Like, everyone knows what it feels like to be loved or hated or get their heart broken. So what you want to do as a writer is try to invoke that in the reader. Like, all right, I've never been to this alien planet, but his girlfriend's up to breaking up the hero. But yeah, when I was a kid in high school, the girl broke up with me before prom or something like that. I can relate to that. Like, it's these universal themes that you need to tap into. Like, but I think people need to be like, and as well as that, like, when you say stuff, the way you describe anger and the way I describe anger is differently. So you have to find a
Right.
fine line between, like, anger to one person could be like he slams his fist down, the cutlery jumps, and another anger could be like he silently watches him, his eyes bored into the back of his head. Like, these are both anger, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So you kind of skating that fine line.
Yeah, and I get what you're saying. It's yeah, it's all up for interpretation. I guess you don't want to put too much in it, in the script and everything like that, for, you know, to have not let anyone kind of create something else out of it, I guess is probably what you're kind of trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a completely collaborative industry. Like, it's a collaborative process, from like the guy who writes it, the guy who acts, the guy that directs it, from the guy who like drops off the, like, you know, the barrels of water, like, you know, like, all these like, you know, and don't get me wrong, there are more important, like, say, roles than others and so on. But like, if you take one of those out, like, it's not gonna run well, and you can't say this is you have to do it this way. You know what I mean?
Is there anyone that you would like, that you kind of have like on a list of people that you absolutely love to work with, in terms of like someone you would love to collaborate writing with, or someone you would love to like direct one of your films? And it triggers a memory of like listening to John Krasinski write a script with Matt Damon. I think they did like Promised Land. It was a little while ago. I'm not too sure if you've seen it.
I know. I didn't see it though.
Yeah, getting to work with him, and obviously him and Affleck kind of having that kind of, you know, long partnership, and now he's kind of sitting in Affleck's kind of seat, getting to ride with Matt Damon. That was a really, you know, really good experience for him. Is there anyone that kind of pops in mind, like, for you?
No, do you know, I as in working on a script together can be like, I prefer to write on my own. I prefer to like write my script for a thing. And of course, like, everyone gives you notes and so on, but I find it difficult to be like, let's two people sit down and bash out this. Because again, like I said about how you describe anger and how I describe anger can be completely different. Like, you know, I'd rather someone take my script and then go off for it, like, you know, go away and do what they have to do. Like, again, it sucks when someone, not that it sucks when someone rewrites your script, but it's just kind of like, oh, that's my baby.
It's awkward because it's like you have to, like, you know, find some middle ground and argue over scenes and argue like what you want to put down, what they want to put down. Yeah, I imagine it will be like a weird experience.
I prefer someone. Oh yeah, here's my draft. You go off. Like, you know, thing, like, you know, I hope all works out. But listen, everyone gets rewritten, like, everybody, like, because then like the director comes in and goes, oh, maybe we change this around. Then the producer's like, think you do that, and then the actor's just like, well, listen, I got a guy who's going to come in and do a quick polish on this and so on. You know,
we were just talking about if there's like a director that you'd love to make one of your scripts. I guess what's your kind of dream? Who's your dream director?
Like, I always love those, like, you know, I'm a huge fan of like Spielberg, like, huge, like, when maybe Spielberg up until Minority Report is I kind of lost kind of interest with, like, we had to go after that, and then
not a fan of Minority Report.
You aren't?
No, are you saying you're not a fan?
Oh no, I am. That's the last like kind of great movie. It's just like, man, this is pure like escapism.
I was going to say, like, if you don't like Minority Report, that's crazy news to me.
Yeah,
fantastic film.
It's a great movie. Like, you know, like, I really like, of course, like, Scorsese is just like, man, like, Goodfellas. Goodfellas is my go-to movie, and it's just like, you know, Goodfellas is amazing. Excuse me. I love Michael Mann, like, you know, I love those, like, Heat are one of my favorites. I love Christopher McQuarrie. Like, most of these guys kind of write for themselves, like, do their own things, like, you know.
I watched Manhunter recently, and I haven't seen it before, and I liked it a lot. I like the cinematography and the music. I mean, I've seen the story being told probably a little bit better with, like, you know, Silence of the Lambs, or, you know, a couple of other, like, Hannibal TV show and stuff like that. But did you enjoy that one?
I seen it a million years ago. And I wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't be able to, like, you know, critique it as such. But if you go back to, man, like, if you go back to like Last Mohicans, man, like, this guy goes from Miami Vice to, like, Last Mohicans.
It's crazy.
And then, and then he comes out with Heat. Like, Heat's an epic. So think of all the strands, all the bits, and like, I still watch Heat to this day, and I'm still getting something new from it. I'm still like, oh no, that's what he meant by when he's saying that, and that's what happened there, and that's
if it's between your classic line. I love that.
The juice is the action, but the action is the juice. Like, it'd be a hard one to say. Like, I'd love to. I'm a massive Arnie fan, and I'd love Arnie to read some lines, like, you know, like away. That'd be. I'd love a big Kurt Russell fan as well. So
I remember your fan casting for your original screenplay. I think you were mentioning that Arnold had a part in that script as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he played the German guy, and I'm not gonna lie to you. I like in my days. So when I was like at 120%, like I would be like, I emailed his manager and everything like that, and I said, "Here, listen, thing," and you know what his manager said?
What?
Absolutely nothing. He did never reply to me.
Son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch. So if Arnold's manager is listening out there, still on a grudge, bro. Still on a grudge. But I'd love Arnold to be in it. And yeah, there's so many actors, more so actors I'd love to see say my lines. Because when I'm like picturing it in my head, like I'm picturing these actors speaking it, like, you know, going.
Yeah.
So
is that your process? Do you sometimes write characters with a certain actor in mind?
Yeah, but I wouldn't like write, like, say, Jim Smith, 6'4", Austrian accent, built like a fucking dump truck. You know? But like, you know, like even when you say that, like, you know, like when you're writing, you never really like, you don't like. This is another thing I learned, that you never put in like what the character looks like.
Yeah.
Because like if you put in what the character looks like, blonde hair, blue eyes. Yeah, because an actor might be, okay, put blonde hair, blue eyes, like jawline of a quarterback. And then fucking Danny DeVito reads it and it's like, man, this isn't me. Like, you know what I mean? What you always want to do is like include, like, you want to do like what the character's like. Like he's like, he's like lemonade mixed with cyanide. Like, you know what I mean? He spits venom when he talks. Like, you know, you want to give something like a feel like that. Like,
he
uses charisma. Like, you know.
Yeah, it's more open than to kind of anyone coming in and doing something with it as well.
Yeah, because like all actors, they don't want to be told, like, listen, they want to embody the character. Like, you know, I don't think people appreciate, like, people think actors are just like, oh, fucking Nicolas Cage is crazy and he's like, you know, he's got so much money and like all these actors just don't know how to live a life and they're all so crazy. It's just like, here, dude, man, these people are pretending to be someone else for like 6 months of their life. You tell me if, like, you know, like if you're playing a child killer, like, and you go home and, like, you know, you're just like, oh, that's a lot. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like all these actors and so on, that, like, it's an extraordinarily, like, tough job, and it's like any genius is like almost crazy, if you know what I mean. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So to get these amazing performances, you got to be like volatile, and like all these like performances come from like emotions. And if you were like, okay, I got to be upset. I remember watching an interview with an actress, and she was just like, oh, I have to cry on set today. And so what I have to do is I have to think of like when my dad died. And I was like, fucking hell, man, that's even cry. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know,
traumatic, so, like, reliving that constantly to fucking perform.
To get the performance out of her, like that's what she does to herself. Like, and you tell me that, oh, like, okay, take 10. You're like, all right,
do it again.
Yeah, and she's in her head thinking like fucking her father's coffin going to the ground. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he was gonna be messed up over that. You know, but
it's fact. It's a daunting job. Yeah, people don't really think of that. I wanted to ask you as well. I've got a good friend of mine who's also he's written a couple of things, and he's mostly, I think he's not too confident in terms of what he's writing, or to like even put it out there to do anything with it. I know he's kind of entered maybe like a little competition here and there, but I guess I know he'd be interested in knowing kind of what kind of advice you would give to kind of aspiring writers and anyone that's kind of even someone that's kind of thinking that they want to do something with it, but they're not confident at all. They don't even know where to start.
Listen, do you know, people, like, you know, you're saying an aspiring writer or screenwriter. Listen, if you write Interior Warehouse Night, congratulations, you're a screenwriter. Like, there's a difference between like a screenwriter and a professional screenwriter who's been paid. But like, there's like millions of screenwriters out there who've written screenplays and made lots of money and never got a screenplay made. Like, so, like, I think people have this thing that like, oh, I want to write, like, you know, okay, listen, go and write it. Another thing I say, like, when I wrote my stuff, literally, I just went to IMDB Pro, and I literally went through all the movies that I liked and got all the producers emailed. I think people have this idea that it's these people will, like, you know, they'll be angry at me if I send them like a query letter or a thing, like
just spamming them or something.
Either they'll completely ignore you, or they'll read your script, like, you know, look away or do it. But like, I will say something, like, if you are thinking about putting something out into the world, and like, I say, do it, man. Like, you know, look away. Like, what's the worst that can happen? You know?
Yeah. What's really gonna? Yeah. Can't get that bad.
But I think that the most important thing, if you could get given a shot, like, you know, go away, you will make sure your stuff is like so tight, like so fucking tight, man. And I'm like remember about grammar and like spellings, but make sure there's like, I don't know if people realize that there's like, okay, so screenwriting is like a 3-act structure. Like there's like a 7-act structure and like a fucking 5-act structure. I always did the 3-act structure. So screenplay is 90 pages, 15 minutes is the first act. John McClane gets off a plane and he's gone to meet his wife in Nakatomi Plaza, and we're getting the backstory, bit of exposition. So we're explaining the characters, the setting, like, you know, go away, John McClane. So Act 1 finishes when Hans Gruber gets out of the lift. That's when Act 1. And Act 1 should always be something out of the hero's control. Like, you know, John McClane didn't cause this. He's just I'm in the wrong place at the wrong time. Like, he's just a victim of circumstance. You can walk away. All right, and then we have the second act where John McClane's trying to resolve the situation, like all these obstacles, like the fucking detonators, the roof's going to blow up, they're killing people, yeah, all this kind of stuff. He's trying to do that. And then the last act is the place blows up. He's got 2 bullets left. Hans Gruber has opened the safe. He has his wife. Like, you know, come away.
Spoilers for those people that haven't seen Die Hard.
It's called a movie called Die Hard. So like, if you can master the 3-act structure, if you can, like, you know, if you can get that down, that like it's the first act, the second act, and the last act. And I think people struggle with that. Like, and I know it might seem like, oh well, my first act is after 30 pages. And I was like, well, no one's going to read that. Like, oh no, but you don't understand. It's like, no, listen, no, you don't understand. Like 15, if your scripts are usually 90 pages long, 90 pages, 90 minutes. After 15 pages, if something hasn't gone wrong for the hero, or Hans Gruber hasn't got off the lift, like, you know, walk away, like, you're in trouble.
Right.
Also, I think there needs to be, when you're writing, there needs to be more like, did you ever see that movie, October Sky?
Yeah. Jake Gyllenhaal.
Okay, so Jake Gyllenhaal and Chris Cooper's the dad, and they're from a small mining village, mining town, and Chris Cooper's like the hard-nosed father who wants his son to fucking work in the mines, and Jake Gyllenhaal wants to build rockets and so on. Yeah. And this became so clear to me that, like, so Jake Gyllenhaal shuns his father and starts building rockets with him and his friends. And this is all like in the 60s with Sputnik and all these type of stuff is going up. And at the start there, like, you know, fucking not successful. Then they start working harder and they start getting better. And then eventually they make the rocket and so on. I thought the movie was about, like, you know, Jake Gyllenhaal wanted to build the best rocket in a small town, like, and show everyone that, like, I built this rocket, like, you know, right? And then I realized that, and it was so weird. It was just like, this is obvious. There's a scene near the end of the movie. Chris Cooper goes to Jake Gyllenhaal, like, did you meet your hero? So he's meant to go meet Von Braun in the NASA or whatever. Von Braun's like the rocket scientist from the 60s. And Jake Gyllenhaal looks at him and says, like, Von Braun was never my hero. Like, you know, you were my hero. Like, and he's implying all the hard work and the opportunity he was given. Yeah. And I realized this movie isn't about Jake Gyllenhaal building the rocket. This movie is about a son trying to connect with his father. Like, this is a father and son story. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, oh fuck, man. Like, Die Hard isn't about like killing terrorists. It's about like John McClane trying to reconnect with his wife. Like, you know what I mean? So
that's the core of it.
There's almost like 2 plots. And if you look at, like, you know, Titanic isn't about like this love story, like, you know, the way, like, oh, it is about a love story, like, thing, and the ship, but like Titanic is about, like, Rose becoming independent. Do you remember the very end where there's like, and what your name is, and she's like, Rose Dawson. Like, you know, she's shunned off. She's just like, I'm gonna go out my own. I'm my own person. At the very start, she's like, she's under control of Billy Zane, and her mom are controlling her. But at the end of it, she's like, I'm my own woman now. And I think that's what most scripts, and listen, I struggle with that, like, every day. Like, what's my I know my script's about robbing the bank, but what's it actually about? Like, what's this person trying to achieve? Like,
what's the deeper message? Yeah.
So it's almost like, I think a lot of people are like, say that big first the first script I wrote, the big one, that was just like guys on a mission, just like shooting up Nazis and just like, you know, having a great time doing it. Like,
sounded great.
There's no like, yeah.
I want to see it made, Niall.
Oh, me too. But there was no like deeper, like, you know, deeper meaning or deeper understanding to it. And like that took me a long time to understand. So back to my point that I was making, if you can do like a 3-act structure and you can get like those two types of plots in there and have like a character, have like an arc. Yeah. Like the October Sky, Jake Gyllenhaal's bad at building rockets, and at the end he's good at building rockets.
Yeah.
He has a bad relationship with his father. He has a good relationship with his father. If you can have that character arc in there, and like I don't think people realize, you're saying your friend doesn't know the stuff's any good, doesn't know what he's sending out. Listen, I'm not the best screenwriter in the world. I'm not, man. I'm like, every day is like a struggle, and some days I don't want to do it, and some days I write crap, and some days I write good. So many people I've met have been like, this is an okay script, but let me take it in this direction and I can make it better. And like, we go back to collaboration, that like someone who has an okay script and they put it out into the world, someone reads it like, and it's like, I can give it to me. Let me see what I can do with it. Where there are actors, directors, producers, and so on. Like, so there's no one like their first script. No one's first script is like
perfect.
The Shawshank Redemption or the Godfather. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. It takes like people's collaboration and like, you know what I mean? And like if you go along that journey and people read your script and give you feedback, you're getting slowly better and better. It's never going to get better if this sits in your drawer. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
So essentially, you're saying like, you don't have to really wait until you have this perfect script, because that's essentially never really going to happen, right? Like, you might have something there and you're going to kind of rethink it. If you put it out there, someone's always going to like kind of tear it apart. But if it's enough, something might come of it and you'll collaborate. You're just going to put yourself out there, I guess.
Yeah, like I'm not saying you don't need to have the perfect script, but your script, like, you might get one.
It has to be tight, like you said.
It has to be super tight. Yeah. You might get one. Like, readers in LA, and they're like this. I'm going to read Sin's script, and I'm going to give him 100. He has 100 points at the moment, right?
Yeah.
And they're reading your script, and they're like, spell a mistake, lose 5 points, grammar, lose 5 points, lose 2.
Right.
This isn't like, you know. And when I reach about 70, they're just like, listen, this guy, the script isn't there. Yeah, like what? Like, because this guy who you don't know, right? So imagine you're a producer and you receive an email from like, hey, I got the script, you should read it. Here's the log line. The guy's like, okay, I'll read it. And he's like, I'm not going to spend 2 or 3 hours on someone like that. I got a million other scripts from people I actually know. Yeah. If this guy hasn't taken the time to make sure everything's 100%, why would I take the time? So what I'm saying is, if anyone wants to do that, just make sure your script is like an absolute lock, super, super tight structure, arc. Yeah.
Put yourself out there.
No, 110%, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. I wanted to ask you.
You have to seize victory. Seize it.
Don't be afraid, kids. I wanted to ask you, what's like a really, because obviously you've had this really crazy journey of, you know, putting yourself out there and, you know, working on a lot of different productions and getting your own screenplay made, throughout all of it, and kind of where you're at the moment. Kind of what's been the craziest moment where you kind of like had to kind of stop for a second and be like I can't believe that I've just done this, or this has just happened?
Yeah, I have a very fond memory from I was worked on War for Planet of the Apes, and I remember like we're up in the mountains, and I watched all the Planet of the Apes, and I watched that TV show Planet of the Apes as a kid. And I remember one time there was like this horse charge through the forest, and it was like dudes in like wetsuits with dots all over them and all that kind of stuff, and it was like fucking chaos. And like just for that split second, I was just like, fuck, man, like this is fucking amazing. Like this is like you know, all my dreams. And like, dude, man, I was like, I'd been there since like 5 o'clock in the morning. I was wet, I was cold, and literally I was just like watching everything happen and all this fucking madness and all this chaos. And then the director yells cut, and they go back to their positions and they do it again. I'm just like, man, this is fucking so
fucking
special.
Crazy.
Like, you know? And then I remember one time I was I don't know, man, I got invited to like Patriots Day, the Mark Wahlberg movie about the Boston bombing. And some guy I just met like out, and this is what I was visiting a friend in LA. I just met him out at a bar, and I just got talking to him. He was like, "Hey man, do you want to come to a movie premiere?" I was like, "Yeah, fuck it, let's go, man." So we ended up going there, and he was just like, "Oh no, we're going to the after party as well." And I'm like, "Yeah, cool, let's go." So I was in like the Man's Chinese Theater, and like we watched Patriots Day, and then at the end of it, they brought out all the like Kevin Bacon, Mark Wahlberg, Nat Wolff, and they brought all the stars and John Goodman in it. Yeah, they brought everybody.
Yeah,
and then they also brought out all the guys that were injured in the Boston bombing and all. I was just like, wow, man, this is like, I felt like, wow, like I'm like, you know, I'm seeing something special here, like, in a way.
Yeah.
So and then at the end, the guy's like, all right, cool, let's go. We're going to the after party. So literally the cops closed down like Hollywood Boulevard, and we all left the Man's Chinese Theater and walked across the Roosevelt. And do you know, like, I just felt at that moment, like, and again, listen, it's great. Parties and so on are great and all, but like, you know, I don't do it to be like, you know, fucking like fame or money or anything.
Yeah.
But then I was in there, and next of all, like, you know, I'm just like drinking the free drinks, eating the free fucking.
Yeah, who the fuck's this Irish guy?
Just walking around like that. But that's a great thing about, like, no one knows if you're like the son of, like, you know, the head of Warner Brothers, or you're just like,
you could be anyone.
Could be anyone. So I was going around there. Next of all, like, Mark Wahlberg is standing beside me, and he's just like shaking hands and kissing babies, and I was like, Mark, great performance. And he's like, thanks, guy. And I'll tell you, all your listeners out there, if you ever meet like an actor or director or a painter or a singer, and for some reason this clicked in my head, always say to them this: I really connected with your performance on an emotional level. Because most actors, and like that's what they're looking for. They're looking to get emotion from the audience. Like, you know, where do you write a book or paint a picture or, like, you know, sing a song? Like, you want to invoke an emotion from it. And he's like, thanks for saying that, guy. Thanks for coming out. Thanks, you got a funny voice. And then I go, thanks, man, nice to see you. And I was like, just like that was just like, oh, man, fucking cool, man. And I was like, I just felt like, yeah, man, that's cool. I've landed. I've arrived.
Baby.
And then literally that weekend, like I flew back and I was like a traffic cone in downtown Vancouver, like, you know what I mean? Those two moments. Also, one, I reached out on Twitter to it's a Doug. Hold on, I feel bad now. The guy who wrote Bad Boys and wrote Die Hard 2, Doug McLean, I think his name is. But I was like, hey, listen, I seen him drinking a pint of Guinness on Twitter. Coincidentally, he's married to this Irish American girl, and I was just like, hey, I'm gonna be in town. Any chance you're gonna grab a coffee? And he's just like, yeah. So he took me out to, I can't remember this. It's one of these like fucking old Mexican restaurants, these old Hollywood haunts. And he sat me down and just me and him just spoke about movies for like 2 or 3 hours. He bought me dinner, and then he dropped me home. But like, just not taking that. And this guy had done like, you know, Money Train. He did like Hostage. He did Bad Boys. He did like a million things. And it's like, just like to be taken. And to be honest, like, that guy didn't know me from Adam. Like, you know, and he took time out of his schedule to have a beer with me, and like, just by that kindness, and like, literally it took me like 2.5 hours to get there because I had to take like 5 buses. And
but that's what you got to do. You know? Yeah, what an opportunity.
That's what I got. Like, what else am I doing? Like, but just like, I'm always very thankful of all the people who've like taken time to help me and educate me. You know, here, listen, a lot of people have just not replied and just not taken anything.
I'm sure there's been a lot of negative interactions as well, where it's a simple no or, you know, nothing. Yeah,
but like I circle back to, and it's this mindset. Like, I think I've carried it from like I think, like, you know, like being a writer, like your entire life revolves around writing, and I think like my writing aspect like flowed into my write. So it's about a mindset that, like, if you send this script that you love and you think is good to a producer, and you're just like, read my script, you'll enjoy it, and he comes back and says, this is shit, this is the worst script I've ever read, I'm like, thank you very, very much, like, I appreciate your time reading it. In my mind, I'm not like, oh no, he said my script is shit, this is like, you know, my mind is like, oh great, that guy's out of the way, I'm one producer closer to get to the guy who's going to love it, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I said, all these setbacks and, like, you know, disappointments and mistakes, and like they're never like dead ends, man. They're never like full stops. They're all just like stepping stones. And I think I don't know if people want like not instant success, you know, or instant like, fuck, man, he read my script, the check for $1 million is in the post. That's never going to happen. Like, you're never going to get that. Like, you know what I mean?
No, of course. Yeah, that's you got to be realistic about it, I guess. I wanted to ask you, since you mentioned War of the Planet of the Apes. That was a Matt Reeves film. What do you think of the casting of Robert Pattinson as the new Batman?
I think I like what I have to say about Robert Pattinson is the guy made so much money off Twilight. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That guy could be making rom-coms to beat the band. He could think, look at all the movie roles he picked. He picked these obscure, like nothing roles, or like like he got films made just because his name was attached. Like, I'm sure the film's probably lost money because no one's going to see like a fucking 2-hour art house. Like, you're not going to Robert Pattinson. You know what I mean? Like, and like and even look at Daniel Radcliffe. Daniel Radcliffe could have been beating the band, doing similar stuff, but he's all picking all quirky, like different types of movies. I think Robert Pattinson, I seen him in. I think he's great in Tenet.
Good Life. Did you see Good Life? The Safdie brothers. So
no, I didn't know.
No.
Is that the one where he's a junkie? Is that the one?
Like him and his brother. Yeah, it's pretty good. You should check it out.
Are they the guys that did Uncut Gems?
Uncut Gems. Yeah, that's right.
That movie gave me fucking anxiety. I was just
man, it's a rush the whole time. Yeah, it's like
I was just like, no, it wasn't a rush, man. I was just like, I was so like. I was just so. It wasn't my cup of tea at all.
Yeah.
It was not.
When is this going to end?
Adam Sandler. Yeah, I was just like, this guy's giving me anxiety. Why is he such a fuck up, man? Why is he such a fuck up? But I think Robert Pattinson. I think it's a good idea. Like the whole DC thing. Like I just think because they tried so hard to emulate and they rushed their whole universe. I think it's going to be very. Listen, I'm so confused. Well, I'm confused. You got the DC world on TV, which sometimes the movies melt.
I think they crossed, yeah.
And then you have like you've got like say the early Batmans, the Christopher Nolan Batmans.
Yeah.
Then you have the Matt Reeves Batmans. Then you got the Jokers. Then you have like the Suicide Squads.
All over the place.
Reboots. Yeah, and it's just like what I think they're going to try do is they're going to try like use the Flash to like they're all alternative worlds or they're all like, you know, I think that's
the whole thing
trying to do. Yeah, but I think even like I'm a big stickler for like continuity in like like talking bubbles in Aquaman. Like I just like, did someone not discuss this? Did we not? Okay, guys, this is how we're going to pay it forward. Like, and then did you watch the Snyder Cut? Justice League Snyder Cut?
I did. Yeah, I did.
Yeah, Amber Heard has an English accent in it. I'm just like, like, why is this?
I know. Like, what the fuck?
was this not discussed that I'm eating? But like, I also like Marvel are doing it now because I think they're almost writing themselves into a corner, especially Marvel. That. Like Gemma Chan, who's in the Immortals, she was a character in Miss Marvel. I'm just like if you're doing that, you're running out of actors to cast in movies, like
because you've got so many movies made now. It's like
like there's only so many, like, you know, like away. So like, and again, like I think the whole Immortals thing, like I'll watch it, like, you know, like away. But I tell you what I don't like about the Marvel movies is that like. I don't feel that there's no stakes anymore because no one ever dies.
No one ever dies.
Like no,
everyone comes back.
No, everyone's like, yeah, everyone comes back. And you know, like I know, like Black Widow died, but I bet you there's some kind of time flux that Loki can fix. And it's just like, and I just remember Civil War. I was like, oh man, this is a perfect time to thin the ranks. Thin the ranks a bit. Like, you know, go away. It's just like, oh. Fucking, Don Cheadle like had a sore back for a bit. Like, you know, go away. That was the war.
Yeah, you know? So, he's back, baby.
Yeah. Well, at least in DC stuff, I feel there's more to lose. Like, you know, the stakes are a bit higher. But I think when Batman's like fighting aliens and so on, I'm just like, it
doesn't feel right.
Does it? To see that Batman. No, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. But yeah. Well, I enjoyed the Snyder Cut, Justice League.
No, I did. I think it was an improvement on the other one, but again, like you mentioned, there's a few things that probably don't match up to the previous. Like, you know, all the other films, sorry. And like, yeah, it was just a bit of a mess, I think. And like with this new Batman film, I think they're trying to kind of do it in a separate universe, right? With Matt Reeves' one. And so, you know, I'm interested to see how that pans out. It'll probably be a good movie. But then like, what do you do after that? Like, do you continue with these other films? Do you know, like I think it's still a bit of a mess.
Yeah, and as well as that, I think, is it too close to Christopher Nolan's Batman? It looks very Christopher Nolan-esque, like, you know.
It does. It's like, you know, realistic and everything like that, dark.
Yeah,
and I don't know,
moody. And then as well as that, is it too close to Todd Phillips' Joker? You know, like away.
Yeah.
Is it like is I don't think I like. I wonder, like, are Warner Brothers just like, oh, we're going to put in Joaquin Phoenix at the end of this movie, and it's like, oh fuck, we got you.
Yeah, what now?
I just, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I just like every kind of genre has its day, like, you know, kind of way. And I think this is definitely the genre, the superhero time of superheroes. But yeah,
who knows how far it can go?
Yeah, but like, how far can it go? Like the Immortals are just like, they're like, like, you know, like it's. I just don't see how. Like, you can, like, how am I gonna feel like I never really enjoyed the Hulk movies or the Superman movies, because these people are like, they can't be hurt, they can't be. So what's at stake? You know?
Yeah,
I don't know.
There's nothing there. Well, look, Niall, I enjoyed talking to you. Thank you so much for coming on. It's great to hear your whole arc and, you know, your own personal arc of how you kind of got into Hollywood and where you're at. And congratulations on everything that you've done, and Mister Mayfair getting made and everything like that. And I'm super excited to see what the future holds for you, mate.
No, I appreciate you having me on. And anyone that's out there listening, thinking of, like, you know, getting into film or writing and so on, just do it. Like, I was literally working in a basement in a bank for 10 years, and one day I said fuck it and I left, and here I am. So like, there's not like nothing. It's not impossible to do. It takes a lot of hard work, but it's not impossible to do. So I'd like to leave you with that message. Yeah,
dream big, kids. Dreams do come true.
Dreams do come true.
Awesome. Thank you so much, mate. Appreciate you coming on, and a pleasure talking to you.
Absolute pleasure, dude.